Hey guys, it's Vadiazo back again with another Vanguard deck unboxing. I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do a Patreon. And let's get started. So this time I'm doing a Vanguard deck unboxing of Shinemon Nitta, the Trial Deck '09, which is frankly one of my favorite trial decks ever for many different reasons, and I'll get into those later. But what this deck basically focuses on is getting out a certain unit and then running through your opponent with pure power base alone. So instead of spoiling that, let's just go ahead and go through the deck and then I'll tell you when you see it. So, first off, we have 4 copies of our heal trigger, Witch of Big Pot's Laurier. 1 copy of a draw trigger, Goddess of Self-Sacrifice Kashinada. So this is our first and ever PG draw trigger that will ever be in a trial deck. I really don't care about this, to be honest. I probably should, and everyone in the comments is probably going to say you probably should, but I really don't care because it kind of... I feel off-sided that there's only 3 copies of one draw trigger and then 1 copy of another. That's just how I am. Now we have 3 copies of Talisman Angel, followed by 4 copies of our Cyber Tiger, aka a tiger, and then finally 4 copies of Battle Maiden Kuruhime. So, a kind of useful card. Her old ability never made sense to me, especially from the time period that she came out, and now it's a critical trigger, and I kind of like this art better. 1 copy of our starting Vanguard, Pan of New Style. It's the standard when wrote upon draw card. He looks really cool, like he's enjoying himself. We have 2 copies of Ambrosial Snake. 10k shield, 6k power. I have yet to use this thing's skill because I normally finish what I'm trying to do by the time I call it. Once per turn, act on rearguard circle. Soul Blast 5, and I'm not reading that wrong. It is Soul Blast 5. Get an imaginary gift force and place it on your Vanguard circle. If that doesn't tell you what this deck does, I'll say it for you. This deck focuses on stacking imaginary gifts forces on your Vanguard circle. So in this deck, do not run Force 2 ever, because you are going to be wasting your time because you can't stack its ability. And you have to have 5, and you have to keep doing it on the Vanguard circle too, so can't really escape it. 3 copies of, our second PG, Administrator of Hope Pandora, 7k power. It's our grade 1 version of the draw PG. So, yeah. 4 copies of Atlas of Heavenly Spear. My favorite grade 1 in this deck, and yet I still have yet to use its on-play skill. So 10k shield, 8k power, auto Vanguard circle when placed soul charged. I always thought that was just a rearguard circle marking. Yeah, I guess I was wrong. And then second skill, act rearguard circle, counterblast 1, shove it to soul, draw a card, and then if your Vanguard's an Astro Poet, aka the main, archetype of this deck, you get to gain imaginary gift force. So, by riding into your grade 3 Astro Poet, because I'm going to tell you nothing else in this deck is an Astro Poet besides a grade 3, you get a gift, you get this thing skill off, you get another gift. So you can essentially get 2 gifts in a turn. And by the way, that's not once per turn, so you can effectively get 5 gifts in a row if you happen to draw into them multiple times. And then our last grade 1, 3 copies of Diana of Moonlight. 10k shield, 8k power. When the attack get boosted hits, so the attack get boosted has to hit first. Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, get an imaginary gift force, put it on your Vanguard circle, and then if you have an Astro Poet Vanguard, countercharge. So if you have an Astro Poet Vanguard, you can essentially just Soul Blast 1 and then gain another gift. What's more really useful? Now on to our grade 2s. 2 copies of Prometheus of Holy Verse. So 5k shield, 9k power, auto rearguard circle. When it attacks while boosted, counterblast 1. If your Vanguard's an Astro Poet, get an imaginary gift force, put it on your Vanguard circle. So normally what you're supposed to do is boost it with Diana, attack with it, get an imaginary gift from Holy Versus skill, and then if the attack happens to hit, you pay another counterblast, a soul blast, and then you get another imaginary gift, which is really neat. So you can essentially get 2 gifts just for an attack hitting. 4 copies of Prometheus of Dancing Light, who despite has the more numbers out of all of my grade 2s, I still have yet to draw into him in like the early game. I always either draw into the next grade 2, or I always draw into Holy Verse. I've never drawn into him in my opening hand. So here's what Prometheus does. Well, he has 5k shield, 10k power, sorry. When Vanguard or Rearguard circle. When placed, look at top 2 cards of your deck, put 1 into the soul, and then put the other at the top of your deck. It's not up to 1. You literally have to put 1 into the soul and then 1 at the top. There have been times where I've hated that because I've lost a card that I wanted doing that, but whatever. And then Rearguard circle. When it attacks, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, one of your Vanguards and this unit gets plus 5k until the end of the turn. So if you want to run this in a premium deck and run stand triggers, that would be very useful and very broken. But at the same time, that's really good. Because I didn't know it gave power to Vanguard too. I just thought it gave power to itself. That's really good. 3 copies of White Cleared Sorcerer Colts. 10k shield, 10k power. It's essentially just the 10k shield guy. It's basically the defensive card for Force decks. Now onto our grade 3s. Our first and less important grade 3 is Perseus of Probability. So, Imaginary Gift Force, and if you don't know what that does, I'll explain what that is later, or at least the one that they gave us in this deck. So, Auto, Vanguard or Rearguard Circles also has a 13k base. When it attacks a Vanguard, counterblast 1, draw 2 cards, and then put a card from your hand into the soul. So, say you have 2 hand cards after your drive check, draw 2 more, and then put whatever is the most useless card out of them into your soul. Yeah, that's very useful because it just helps regenerate your hand, and this deck does kind of use a bit of soul, but it never comes at the right moment for me, so I still have yet to have it where that has actually been purposefully useful, besides just to get the draws. But one day when I customize this deck, it might be useful if I decide to keep it around. Finally, on our last grade 3, and the most important card in this deck, 3 copies of Gleaming Lord Uranus. And that's how you say it. It's not Uranus, it's Uranus. But real quickly, I want to say I did not know this existed. In the trial deck, I opened up its SPR. This is not gold foiling because you cannot feel it, but it is literally an SPR, and this planet looks so much cooler up close. I just had to say that because it felt natural to me. So anyways, it's skill, and I know this thing's skill by heart now. So, continuous ability. If it's on Vanguard Circle, it also has Imaginary Gift Force and a 13k base. If it's on Vanguard Circle, your back center Rearguard Circle becomes an astral plane. That I will explain later when we get into the gift section. And then Vanguard or Rearguard Circle unplaced, Soul Blast 2, and then you get another Imaginary Gift Force. So essentially, also, it has to have 5 gifts to be able to do the, it has to have 5 gift markers to be able to do the astral plane thing. So, essentially, you can get 2 gifts just by writing it, if you happen to have 2 soul ready. So yeah, that would be really useful, and a lot of power stacking, which is another reason why this whole deck can do that. And I still have yet to be able to do it where I can do that on the first turn, but whatever. 4 copies of our very last attack, or of our very last monster, and the reason why you need astral planes. Grade 5, Giant Deity of Distant World, Valkyrion. This card cannot be written. I would be surprised if it could, since you need a grade 4 to be the link. Auto, when on a non-astral plane circle, retire this unit. So if this card is not in an astral plane, you cannot, You cannot call it, and it will die immediately. Auto Rearguard Circle, when placed from hand, look at top 5 cards of your deck, put up to 1 card from among them into the drop zone, send the respective deck and shuffle. Until the end of the turn, this card's drive check becomes the grade of the unit that you pick to put into the drop zone. So, I have had the one time where I put Valkyrion into my drop zone. I got Quintet drive off that. I will relive to you my drive checks that turn. Uranus, critical trigger, drop trigger. And then this thing, draw trigger, heal trigger, nothing, critical trigger, critical trigger. 4 triggers from 7 drive checks. And now we'll go to our gifts. So first off, we have 5 imaginary gifts force. So if you don't know what this if you already don't know what this does, by the way, it gets a special art for this one. On Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, wherever it's placed, a unit on that circle gets plus 10k power. And that ability is stacked, unlike its other version. So if you have all 5 out, it essentially gives plus 63. Unfortunately, in this trial deck, they do only give you 5 for the sole sake of not being too broken, but just so you can get the astral plane out. So Uranus is the only person who's going to have Imaginary Gift Force, as long as you're just using the trial deck. But it's going to be at a 63k base, which is extremely good. And then finally, well, I also do suggest getting more Imaginary Gifts Force, though, because let's be fair. You get so many gifts so easily that if you were to just be a bit smarter with it, you could effectively do a lot with it. Actually, no, that wouldn't help because it would all just stack on your Vanguard Circle, so I guess you could just add once per turn. And then finally, our Astral Plane, which looks really amazing with this art. I do not know this thing's skill by heart, so I'm essentially going to read this over the camera. So, this Rearguard Circle is considered an Astral Plane, and they have the following rules that they must be followed. So, grade is ignored when calling on this Astral Plane. So, when calling an Astral Deity, aka what Valkyrion is. So, essentially, this thing becomes a regular grade whatever, because that doesn't matter, apparently. If this card on the Astral Plane is not an Astral Deity, put into the drop zone. So, if it's not Valkyrion, because Valkyrion is an Astral Deity, it gets retired. So, don't bother wasting your time calling over it. This unit on the Astral Plane can attack from the back row, and it performs drive checks, aka Valkyrion's skill is like that. And it also has a 70,000k base, so essentially, if your opponent don't have a PG, oh lord, that's going to be one heck of a hit. And then cards revealed for its drive checks are put into your soul instead of your hand, so it is good for soul charging. So if you do decide to add more gifts, it could be very useful, I guess. And then finally, at the end of the turn, the Astral Deity on this plane is sent to the bottom of your deck. So that is kind of a problem for some reasons, because I mean, you're losing a very important card, but considering you're not actually retiring it, which is what I thought it was doing in the anime, it essentially just puts at the bottom of your deck, and this deck goes through a lot of cards. I can tell you, I once sent a Valkyria to the bottom, and within the next turn, I saw it again with still half of my deck left. That's how good this deck is. So guys, before we wrap this up, we have our standard issue how to play Vanguard packet, and then we have our beautiful playmat, which on the front it looks as standard as everyone else's. I'm not surprised. There we have our Rearguard Vanguard circles. We have our deck zone, our drop zone, and then our trigger zone here at the top. We have our damage zone at the bottom, and then our gift zone right here. And then finally, we have our, I'm just going to back my camera up real quickly. We have our intro to Shinemon Nitta, the guy who uses this deck. Some of the cards that are really good in this deck and really useful and that you may want to use a lot. Some words on how to use Uranus properly. And then how to boost this deck up, which by the way, this little thing right here, this dragon, I am getting from my deck profile. By the time I get it, this deck still won't be complete, but at least I'll have that, and you all will know what that does, because I will gladly jump on the train for the deck profile, maybe. So I'm going to end it here. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and go to Patreon, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to check us out.